I hate to do this, and I don't do this often. I don't play Young Turks clips. Uh, to tell you the truth, since I've left the Young Turks, I might have seen 5 or 6 of their videos. I don't generally watch it. Not out of bitterness, I just don't enjoy it because they cover a lot of things that you could find on mainstream media. But I got to keep it real. In addition to Rachel Maddow, in addition to CNN, the Washington Post, New York Times, I mean, even when I was there, the Young Turks was really covering this Russia story quite a bit. And I remember, I mean, I was on a panel with Cenk and Nomiki and Michael Tracy, where Cenk was openly talking about. He said Russia swung the election, and I pushed back on that, saying, "What do you mean he swung the election?" And I remember Cenk openly speculating about Trump's campaign colluding with Russia, and what I thought at the time was a real lack of skepticism and research and investigating, just kind of like latching on to this Trump derangement stuff. And I'm not criticizing him or the Young Turks for any other reason than, independent media plays a key role because we're the ones that are supposed to expose the corporate media's lies. We're the ones that are supposed to expose the corporate media's sensationalism. We're the ones that are supposed to expose the corporate media's propaganda and sheer, drive for ratings. So when independent outlets start kind of drinking the Kool-Aid themselves, then what are people left with? You got corporate media, being sensational, and then you have independent media being sensational and pushing speculation as if they're facts. So I found it interesting. Somebody sent this to me that since the report came out, suddenly the Young Turks and Cenk, suddenly they never pushed that there was collusion. Suddenly that's the case where Cenk says he never pushed the collusion theory.
First, let's start with the facts. The Mueller report is in, and then Attorney General Barr has now apparently said that it clears him of collusion during the election. I am not surprised by that. I will explain. I have been explaining for years on the Young Turks now, literally years, if anyone cares to pay attention. And then the second charge is obstruction of justice, and he did not clear him on that. So Mueller said that it was a close call, then he leaves it up to the Department of Justice. And now the Department of Justice is run by Barr, who is a Trump lackey. That's why he was picked and put into that role. And Barr immediately, without any further investigation, cleared the president of obstruction of justice. So what do I think about obstruction of justice? Well, if I thought that there was no collusion before, during, or after the election, I would actually understand the Attorney General's decision, because he'd say, look, it looked like Trump was covering it up when he went on national TV and he said he fired James Comey to make sure he didn't do the Russia investigation. And if there's no collusion, then I guess he wasn't covering it up. He's just being weird. So I would understand that. But apparently I have a unique take on this, because the Democrats, and based on their reaction today on television as well, apparently really thought that the collusion happened directly during the election, where Trump and the Russians were working together to steal the election from poor Hillary Clinton. So that has not been my contention on the Young Turks. I definitely think there is collusion, so I want to be absolutely clear about that.
Whew. Not been my contention on the Young Turks. Yeah, no. Not my contention. Never was. I saw another video where he said that he actually was saying that the collusion happened after the election, not during the election. Tweet it out. Let me be clear before we find out what's in Mueller report. My contention has been that the collusion was after the election. So, I guess videos like this prove Trump campaign colluded with Russia.
So there's the collusion right there. The question is, what's inside? We might find out in just a couple of weeks. So I conclude this report with
Tick, 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 tick. Tick, 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 tick. He definitely did it.
Yeah. That video was in reference to this story. Was there a connection between a Russian bank and the Trump campaign? And that story by the New Yorker was talking about a story, a possible connection during the campaign. But he never was pushing the collusion theory. No. And again, you're not going to believe me, but I'm being honest with you. I'm not like, listen, if I wanted to take on Cenk and the Young Turks, I would do it. There's plenty of other examples of segments they did that are a little loose on the facts and pretty heavy on speculation and not very well researched. But to me, honestly, the biggest issue, I mean, Cenk, he, like, moving the goalposts is an understatement. He's not just moving the goalposts, he's not telling the truth, right? Like, it's a fabrication that he did not allege Trump and Trump's campaign colluded with the Russian government. He did, many times. And by the way, just because other people did, it doesn't make them like bad people. It doesn't mean they should like resign and be fired. You get things wrong. Sometimes as a journalist or a commentator, your bias becomes too thick and it blinds you. There's nothing wrong with simply saying, listen, on this, I was wrong. I wasn't skeptical enough. I wasn't cynical enough. I didn't do my homework enough. And you know what? It's a lesson, and I'm going to do better next time. I would say it if I was wildly wrong and engaged in speculation and Trump derangement syndrome. I think audiences actually appreciate a little humility, a little slice of humble pie. I do as a consumer, of people that I like, if they were wrong on something and just admitted it. It's when people, not just Cenk, but other media individuals and politicians, like, they can't ever acknowledge being wrong about something. That's an issue, because that's a whole different psychological category as far as people who just refuse to acknowledge fault or being wrong or about anything. This isn't a small thing to be wrong about, because my biggest issue, as I said in the beginning of this, and remember, smash the like button so more people can see this. My biggest issue is not so much that they were wrong about the Trump campaign colluding with Russia. And I keep saying I want to see the report. Because it doesn't mean, just because there's no criminal charges of collusion, doesn't mean there wasn't unethical things that Trump or his campaign did. But my biggest complaint, particularly when you're talking about independent media, and frankly, if you want to know the truth, I mean, I had these conversations with them when I was there. When you focus so much on something that doesn't have facts to support it, segment after segment, show after show, hour after hour, you're not covering Flint. You're not covering Standing Rock. You're not covering East Chicago. You're not covering the mass shootings. You're not covering the water contamination. You're not covering the pipeline protests. You're not covering the state and local level corruption. You're not covering what independent media exists for, to show what's actually happening in America, to show what's actually happening in the world. Independent media is supposed to fill the void because corporate media is not going to cover these things. It's not in their business interest to do so. Which is why status quo exists. We exist to cover what's actually happening. We exist to show you the real America, not Sarah Palin's real America, like real America. It's just not true what he's saying. It's disingenuous, and it's moving. It's not just moving the goalposts. It's moving to an entirely different stadium. So, yeah, that's the truth. And I don't really talk about the Young Turks that much, and I don't really focus on their coverage because there's more important things to do. But listen, if you're wrong, just admit you were wrong. Don't pretend otherwise. And I hope not just the Young Turks, but other, because there were other independent outlets that covered this a lot. Obviously, the corporate media. I hope. I don't expect them to, because honestly, at the end of the day, CNN, MSNBC, to a lesser degree, TYT, I mean, it's a business. So if you're getting clicks, if you're getting ratings, that they're going to keep doing that. and that's unfortunate. Like, our model is actually not views. Our model is actually not necessarily getting 1 million views and making everything go viral. Of course, that's what we want to happen, and we believe if we keep doing what we're doing and keep covering the right stories. I'm about to play a clip in a little bit of one of my interviews at a homeless shelter in Seattle. We believe the clicks will come. We believe the views will come. But the reason we are trying to grow on membership, meaning you pay $5 to $10 a month, or you pay $179 a year for us to do what we do, to support us so we could have funding to go in the field, then we don't necessarily have to target everything to getting 1 million clicks or getting advertisers or, getting corporate funding, because we're funded by you. So it's not necessarily a matter of, oh God, we're not meeting our quota for how many clicks we have, for how much views we get, or how much subscribers we get, because we have the viewers, and that's the most important thing. And that's how you should grow a media network. And that's 99% of the cable outlets, of the digital outlets, of the print outlets don't operate that way. Status Quo does. We're not here only to get views, only to go viral. We believe those things will happen. Obviously, YouTube suppressing us has hurt us and hurt a lot of other independent channels. But listen, I really truly believe that Cenk believed this. I actually think Rachel Maddow believes it. Still, I never watch Rachel Maddow, but I will be watching her tonight, because get your popcorn. I want to see what lunacy she comes up with to respond to the Mueller report's findings. Because now she's going to say, well, maybe it was aliens that went through Trump's toupee and they colluded with the Russian government. So it wasn't Trump, it was the aliens through Trump that did it. I mean, come on. But that's the problem. Like, you know what? If you're wrong, just say you're wrong. Explain what you got wrong. Admit that you didn't necessarily wear your skepticism hat the way you should have. You didn't do enough research. You kind of were wearing blinders because you hate Trump so much, and be done with it. Move on. So I hope that's what we'll be hearing, but don't necessarily expect that. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statusquo.com, where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statusquo.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.